She used money from her murder's husband's GoFundMe to pay off his killer. Jamie Faith's tragic murder continues to haunt the peaceful Dallas suburb where he previously resided. Investigators said the 49-year-old husband was shot 7 times on a morning walk near his house in Oak Cliff, Texas on October 9, 2020. Jennifer Faith, who was with him at the time, claimed to have witnessed the entire ambush in awe. A masked man emerged out of nowhere, shot her husband many times, and dragged her to the ground before duct taping her hands to prevent her from fleeing, she later told authorities. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to be inspired by these real-life stories on a daily basis. Now, let's return to the story. Jennifer's story didn't add up during the months-long investigation that followed. She was charged with murder for hire in the plot to kill her husband in September 2021, and she pled guilty to arranging the whole thing in February 2022. Other unsettling aspects about Jennifer's actions are being revealed in a new episode of 48 Hours, more than 18 months after Jamie Faith's murder, revealing how calculated she was in the days after her husband's murder. Jennifer Faith is still in prison for her part in the crime. So does the hitman she hired to carry out the assassination, Darren Lopez, her former high school boyfriend. The old flames reconnected at the onset of the epidemic in March 2020, as detectives subsequently learned, and began an emotional affair, mostly by email and text as Jennifer described it. Jennifer admitted to being dissatisfied in her marriage at some point during their rekindled romance. That wasn't all, though. In order to get Lopez's sympathy, the Texas woman began to tell him a series of lies. This included frequent assertions that her spouse was physically violent, despite the fact that investigators could never discover any proof of this. Jennifer was aware, according to CBS News, that Lopez had suffered a catastrophic brain injury while serving in Iraq 7 years ago, which may have left him more sensitive to her falsehoods. Jennifer even constructed many fictitious email addresses, which she used to send emails to Lopez while posing as Jamie. Jennifer would send alarming remarks to Lopez in these emails, according to authorities, in which Jamie often boasted about abusing her. She also gave him a slew of photos of her purported injuries, which were later discovered to be a mix of stock photos and photos from Faith's automobile accident in 2012. Lopez's rage about Jamie's alleged abuse erupted into a full-fledged brawl. The 49-year-old confessed to wanting to put a bullet in Jamie's skull in one email he sent to Jennifer, which was seized by police. Jennifer allegedly answered, "If it were up to me, I would urge you to go for it with your idea. LOL. I'll provide you with an alibi." The inhabitants of Oak Cliff rallied around Jamie's widow in the days and weeks following his murder. Jennifer Svelin, a neighbor, even set up a GoFundMe page in Jamie's honor. Once the GoFundMe was put up, Svelin subsequently explained those contributions were flowing in from all around, adding that it was shocking to see how much people were contributing and donating. The GoFundMe campaign raised more than $60,000 in total. The GoFundMe page, however, became something of a payoff account for Jamie's killer, as 48 Hours recently uncovered in The Plot to Kill Jamie Faith, which aired April 9th and is now streaming on Paramount+. Jennifer Faith dug into the GoFundMe money for months in order to send Lopez expensive gifts. The presents included a large-screen Samsung TV and flight tickets for Lopez and his daughters, according to court documents acquired by 48 Hours. But she squandered the funds in other ways as well. Investigators discovered emails in which Jennifer freely provided Lopez access to 2 of her credit cards and encouraged him to use them as he pleased. One email said to read, "Here's both of my major CCs, the Amex has no limit, and I believe the Visa has a limit of around $35,000. Please don't hesitate to use them for everything you require, particularly when it comes to items for the ladies." Jennifer allegedly withdrew $58,000 from her GoFundMe account and paid hundreds of dollars to get her boyfriend, via Venmo, transactions in less than 2 months. Jennifer's neighbors couldn't believe they'd been misled when her acts were exposed. Neither could the many compassionate GoFundMe donors who had thought they were helping a grieving widow rebuild her life after her husband was murdered. They also assumed the money would be used to cover funeral expenses, But detectives learned that Jennifer never paid the funeral bill where her husband was laid to rest. In the end, it was left with a bill of $6,500. Jennifer's neighbor, Melissa Gonzalez, told 48 Hours, "You don't want to let yourself believe that someone you took care of could do anything like that. So for me, getting to the point of believing took time." Jennifer's actions, both before and after her husband's murder, continue to infuriate Svelin, who launched the GoFundMe campaign. It's not so much stealing from GoFundMe as it is stealing from Jamie's friends, family, and community. People who love Jamie, Svelin explained. That's who she was stealing from. Jennifer, on the other hand, didn't get away with it in the end. Despite the fact that a murder-for-hire accusation in Texas is punishable by death, prosecutors agreed to drop additional counts against her in exchange for a recommendation of life in prison rather than the death sentence. She's currently incarcerated pending the outcome of a judge's sentence judgment. Lopez, meanwhile, is facing a life sentence for murder, despite the fact that his trial is yet to begin. Svelin claims that GoFundMe has at least compensated people who were duped into donating money to Faith. She expressed her gratitude for GoFundMe's policy of not permitting fraud. When they learn about instances like these, as they did in this case, they issue full refunds to everybody who donated to the GoFundMe account. They only had to inquire and fill out a form to receive their money back. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider sharing it with someone else who might enjoy it as well. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.